Have you hit recording? Yeah, you are.
I
Yay.
have. Yay.
Hi,
Okay.
Terry.
Welcome, Terry. How are you? You've been here before, right? I think you've chatted and hung out with
I,
us before.
I recognize Terry's name. Yep. Oh, I'm
Maybe,
following.
maybe
Yep.
not.
No, I'm
Should we
following you
do
already.
say again?
I just saying I'm following Terry already on Blab. So, yep, she's definitely been in here before. And you came back. Praise you.
Nice.
So you'll notice, Terry, that we've got a wee bit fancy. And we've put some names. Did you see what I added, Cara? Mind recombobulator onto mine.
I did. Very, very smart. I love it. Hello, Mr. Wonderful. Nice to see you again. I remember you from last time.
Yep, you've been here before as well.
Hello. Well, should we just go ahead and do our introduction since we were messing with our lower third things because, as we all know, it's all about branding.
It is.
Okay. Hi, I am Kara Chase. I'm a social media strategist. As you can see. And I help solopreneurs, small businesses, couple musicians, whole different kinds of clients with their social media strategy. And by social media strategy, I mean how social media fits into their marketing plan and their marketing objectives and figuring out the strategy behind that for social media. I've just repeated myself, I think, like 5 times. I'm a little discombobulated this morning.
Discombobulated. We knew what you mean. Oh, hey, Mark. Yeah. You've been here before as well. Hello, guy.
Hi, Mark. So, yeah, I help brands with their social media strategy on a whole different level than the intern that will do it for pizza and beer money. And I also build Squarespace websites for clients that need it. Because if you do social media really well, but you have a shitty website, it's just not going to go well for you. So that's what I do. I'm at carachase.com. Kat, over to you.
Hey, so I'm Kat. As you can see, I am. So I'm Kat, and we have worked out how to use Minicam. And Mind Recombobulator. I'm quite liking that new title that I gave myself tonight. And Straight Talking Ginger, what it's all about is your mindset, really, as a small business owner. You move from being an employee, usually, in some job that you've hated and sucks the life out of you, and then you become this fancy CEO with a fancy chair, and then you think, oh crap, I'm like the worst employee in the world because you're having to do everything, and you spend all this time going down digital rabbit holes on the interwebs, and that's not a good use of your time. So what I lovingly do is give you a gentle boot up the ass. And what we do is get back to the foundations, which is really about your personal business blueprint, which is what I like to do. So, yep, it's based on you as an individual. I'm all about the profiling. That's my background, is criminology and profiling and stuff. So now I just profile lovely business owners because that's what I do. Absolutely. So we need to do mug of the day because Cara started this. So mug of the day is.
This is probably my favorite mug because I say this about 50 times a day.
I actually need that mug because it's orange and it matches my hair and my brand. So I need it. You must give it to me. Right. Okay. So mine is a wee bit more blunt.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it.
So yeah. When your husband buys you that as a gift, you kind of.
That's a good thing. He's a keeper.
Totally forget it.
So Kat and I got together because we met in a Facebook group that is for solopreneurs, specifically badass solopreneurs. And we just got to talking and got to know each other a little bit better. And it turns out we have very similar previous career backgrounds. And we both like to say fuck a lot. And we just really jived. And the thing is, she talks about productivity for small business owners and how to get your shit done. And social media, I am all about the productivity and how do you get it done so it's working for you really well, but it's not becoming this huge time suck that it is for a lot of people or most people. So how we overlap is social media is one of the ways that small business owners lose their productivity the most. It's usually top 3 for people. So every week we do this Blab every Thursday, almost every Thursday. Where we talk about social media and productivity and navigating the small business world with those 2 subjects as an umbrella. And we always end up with something to talk about. And we figure it out usually 10 minutes before the Blab.
We're all about the prep.
Yep, all about prep. So yeah, this week, Kat, why don't you give a little ditty about what we're going to talk about? Mark, you're welcome to jump in after Kat does her what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. So really, again, as Cara mentioned, it's about our personal experiences. So they're not based on theory or whimsy or any of that fluff. It's about stuff that we're actually going through. So this week, we decided that we would be talking about selling your expertise. And what we meant by that was really how to qualify your client, because on Tuesday, to give you an experience, had a bit of a lengthy discussion, a lengthy conversation, and it kind of didn't really lead anywhere. And I had to question whether, I was doing the right thing. Was I qualifying the client the right way? And it kind of led us round to that discussion of how do you do that in the first place, so that you're not wasting time speaking to the wrong people who can't afford your services. Because let's face it, we're not all about discounts and giving it away at mates rates. We're about running serious businesses, selling our expertise, and that's what we're hoping that people will pay for, and that's what we need to educate people about. So I hope that kind of covers what we were going to chat about today.
For sure. I think this is particularly the plight of service-based businesses.
Yeah.
If you're selling a product, this is the widget. This is how much it costs. How many would you like to order?
Yeah.
Right? When you are a service-based business and you're literally providing your information that you have in your head, your skill, what you know how to do, and a service that you are providing to whatever small business owner. And so there is a perceived value that is not always on the same page when it's a client and you offering your services. And a lot of that is the client's misperception or lack of knowledge, or they just don't really understand. And so you need to explain, the benefits of what you're doing and what that will do for them.
Yeah.
But like I said in the beginning about my services, I am not the intern that is going to tweet 10 times a day for you for $10 an hour, and you don't really see an investment, return on your investment. And it just, there's no strategy behind it. There's no marketing plan behind it. So when I talk to a client, oftentimes the miscommunication is their perception of social media being a check the box. I don't want to pay more than $10 an hour for this.
Yeah.
And so then as a small business owner, you have to decide between, they're so far off what I provide that it's really just not a good fit. Or is it a client that could be really great and you want to spend the time to try and educate them on what you do, how you do it, and how it's different?
Yeah. And it is so challenging because it's always the sordid topic of coin, has to come up in the conversation at some point. And I suppose I'm always not surprised or taken aback, because it happens quite a lot, about people questioning, well, I don't know if I can afford that, compared to, I'm like, compared to what? Compared to who else is actually offering profiling? That's what I do. I have spent years studying this. It's not just, well, here you go, it's out of a bag and whatever. And it's, I've created a wee free quiz, for instance, But people, it's funny the feedback I've had on this kind of tiny quiz that is based on personality profile and principles. The amount of feedback that I've had, oh, but Kat, I find that really hard to choose. Could you include another option? I'm like, no, because it's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be choose one.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, we've been so used to just having this kind of attitude of, right, I'll give feedback and that'll change that and that'll fit what I want. And you're thinking, no, there's a reason I've created things in a certain way because I kind of know what I'm doing. So it's based on those principles. However, it's always that, but if I pay for a full profile, that's quite a lot of money. Yeah, because you're getting my time, you're getting a report that you can refer back to time and time again. And it's a strange, I always find it a really strange conversation when people bring up that, it's too expensive and I can't afford it. Because they're almost looking for me to immediately drop my price, or how can you justify that? And whilst the conversation does contain part of that, it's up to me to educate that person and, sell in whatever way, I do it. But the reality is, it's like not everybody's your client, and I wouldn't advocate just discounting just to get the sale. Because, it's a small world we live in, and other people would say, well, I mean, for you and your social media, but I got that package from Cara at like $20 less or $50 less. And that, you don't really want that circulating around, particularly in the online world. It might be slightly different in the offline world, I don't know. But online, you don't really want people to then have that conversation because it's a small world and you can be damn sure it comes back around. So it's qualifying,
That is what a lot of businesses fall into. Like, I don't know if you have Groupon over there, but like the discount, like you get coupons for all sorts of stuff and whatever. And businesses will fall into the trap of somebody will say, like a massage therapist, and somebody will say, well, I don't want to pay $100. I'll just wait until you have another sale.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And so what I've decided to do for my business, and I find this works really well, because it works well for everybody. And I end up not starting off a client relationship with that little bit of resentment, which never goes well. I have my full retainer services, which are, it's definitely, you've got to have some resources for it because you're paying for excuse my French, fuck ton of my time. And expertise for me to take care of your entire social media presence down to engagement strategy, content creation, all of it.
Yeah.
And most small business owners, when I say, this is everything that I can do for you, this is what it costs, they do I don't think we can afford that. And instead of me saying, well, maybe we can work something out, blah, 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 I say, totally understand if that's where you're at, no problem. Here's my several $100 one-time thing where I will create a strategy for you to implement.
Yeah, so you have different packages, I suppose, so that you've always got a fallback position. And it's funny because I actually do that normally. The experience this week was a wee bit different because we were having a conversation about where we think it could fit because it was a brand new thing that they were creating. So I found myself in probably a wee uncharted territory of, this is what we could do. That would be a very bespoke thing. We need to have a discussion about it. Yeah, normally I think having packages like that so that they always say 3 is the best, so that you've got the kind of high level, middle, and then you can fall back on that lower one. And I think it gives people a really good visual or understanding of the reason you're paying so much or at this cost is because this is my time. I am now dedicated to doing this for you, and my time is diverted onto that. But yeah, you're right. If you want to go and do that strategy yourself, I think that's a really good fallback position that you've got, Cara. You can say, here's this kind of mini package, and then you're qualifying your client to get a taster of what it's like to work with you or use your stuff. And then they might come back for something else. I don't know if they've ever done that, but that might be the case that they would upgrade at some point.
Yep. So instead of saying, well, okay, I'm going to work 10 hours a week on your social media and this is what it's going to cost you, but if you can't afford it, I'll charge you this much less, whatever. This is what I have, just like a product.
Yeah.
This is what I have. This is how much it costs. You tell me what you want to buy.
Yeah.
And that eliminates that whole perceived value, whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about, which is really interesting, and I think your field probably falls into this too, because I build websites.
Mm-hmm.
And originally that started because I looked at helping people with social media and realized as I was doing these assessments for people, the whole point of social media is to drive traffic to your website. And if you could have the best social media presence strategy in the world, but if your website is crappy, you're going to leave money on the table and you're going to lose those people. So I started that as like, okay, just let me take care of that too, and taught myself how to do it and whatever. But when I pitch clients and I talk to them about, I can do all of this for your social media. This is why it makes a huge difference in your business. This is how you need to think of it, whatever. And they kind of do that on the fence, like, well, I'll think about it. Well, it'd be great, but I don't know if I have the budget for it. When I say I also build websites, they go, oh, really?
Okay.
Our website hasn't been updated since, 2002. And it reminds me of 10, 15 years ago when people were saying, why do I need a website? I'm in the yellow pages.
Yeah. So do you find then, because you now offer that service, Cara, that's a service that people can understand straight away out the starting blocks? So the problem is trying to educate people about the social media and why it's not just posting 20 times a day on Twitter that you're doing for them. But build your website as a completely different beast. Can I get that? So that's really interesting.
It is interesting because the social, I don't know the social perception, I would say the public perception is, it'd be really nice to do social media. I'd really like to do it great, but how necessary is it really? And that's where websites were 10, 15 years ago. So we're in this upswing of educating small businesses on why it's so essential to their whole marketing plan. And it's still hard to explain that. Brands get it. I mean, you look at Snapchat and the Discover platform of Snapchat, and you've got brands like, Coca-Cola that have entire teams just for Snapchat.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't do that as a small business. As we always say, small business owner, you're wearing the 23 hats. Mm-hmm. You're spinning the 7 plates and you're running your life. And it is, you can't sit and dedicate all your time to that. And it's understanding what's the best use of your time, when to bring in a professional, and when you need that expertise to give you that bit of backup. Because let's face it, you can try and work it out yourself, and that's all well and good. And I'm not saying that that's not a good thing, because sometimes what I like to do is go and find out about something first before I employ a professional, so that I can have a proper conversation and use the correct language, so that I'm not kind of shafted, so that I know what I'm doing. But it's I think the small business trends that impact on small business are completely shifting. One of them is on social media. Every single day something changes on one of the platforms. Trying to make a decision on what platform you're on in the first place. And it's funny because I, on the other side of that, as well as all the productivity thing, do a bit of cyber kind of crime understanding for small business owners who set up their own WordPress site or have a WordPress site, and their host hasn't told them what they need to do to protect themselves. And I find with social media as well, and with cyber crime, sometimes the language is, well, it sounds a bit scary. And, when you're using words like strategy and marketing and, hacking and things like that, people get a wee bit, still sit in a darkened room. Yeah, absolutely. So there's always that educational phase that we always talk about, but people need to get switched on to the trends that are actually impacting the area that they're in. So they might not all be in the same niche. We're in very different niches. But the reality is we're still small business owners and we're still impacted upon, and it's trying to share that information and qualify the customer so that they know that they're getting a good service and that they need that service, rather than I'll go and try and make 6 figures and post affiliate links everywhere and all that kind of stuff, and
Right.
you know, I'll be a millionaire overnight. Stop doing it, people. Stop
You
doing
don't do
it.
it.
Please stop it. It will make me sad.
I know. It's sad when you see it done so very, very wrong. E-boy, Mr. Wonderful, I hope you will, I need to go on a little bit of a rant.
You promised you wouldn't rant tonight. That's my job.
So you asked what's the new best social media space to tell your brand story, and I answered you that it's Snapchat, and you said, yuck, I don't get it. Here's the thing. Snooze, you lose. If you don't get it, and that's where your clients are, you've lost out. And I tell this to small business owners all the time. Nobody gives a shit what platform you like the best. It is so harsh. I'm sorry. Well, not really, but nobody cares what platform you like the best. Your clients are on particular platforms, and that's where you need to be. If your demographic, is the Pinterest demographic and you're not on Pinterest, you're leaving money on the table, right? So I get that sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around a new social media platform and why it might work for you and whatever. You need to break it down to, is this where my target audience is? So Snapchat, up until, even like 6 months to a year ago, was really the 18 to 25, mostly female, very young, for the people that are tired of Facebook and having everything out there. In the last year, the demographic of 25 to 34 has risen 103%, and 35 plus has risen 84%. The platform is on fire. Brands are all about it. There's so many ways and opportunities to use it for your business. So what I'm going to tell you is that to get started, look up some YouTube videos. Get a quick, primer on, okay, these are the essential functions. Here's how you navigate the app. And then start following people and lurking and seeing what they're doing. And then start playing around with it. I mean, the best way to get over the hump of not being comfortable is just to keep playing with it and doing it. So can I post a photo or photo and video? You really need to just look on YouTube. There's a ton of great videos on like how to get started, beginners, whatever. So you're welcome. I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt by me saying I don't give a shit what platform you like, but it's kind of true.
But you're totally right. I mean, if somebody was playing badminton and that was your niche, and then you went to a tennis court instead, it's kind of obvious that you're not going to connect with the right people, or if they hang out in a coffee shop and you're not going to the right coffee shop. It's the same thing online. Doesn't matter if you hate Facebook, if that's where your people are, you totally need to be on Facebook. And I know that can be hard. I mean, I was trying to figure out Pinterest. I think I'm beginning to get a hang of it now. But yeah, so thank you, Cara. And did you see I invited you onto one of my boards? You talked about group boards. So you
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, excuses. So a couple of days ago.
Really? So, I've been, I haven't been on my own Pinterest in days because I've been doing other clients' Pinterest. And I'm not logged in. But
I'm only having a laugh. Get on it. Just Pinterest boards and stuff. So, you need to kind of open your mind a wee bit and go and hang out where the people that you're targeting hang out, or you're just going to waste your time.
Yep.
Bottom line.
Yep.
Bottom line. Very straightforward.
And, it's like everything else. When I first started using Instagram a couple of years ago, it's kind of one of those until it becomes a habit, whether that's good or bad, because that's not always good. It's hard to remember to do it. And I'm kind of in the same place with Snapchat now, where I really started within the last month because I saw how I jumped on the bandwagon, and I saw how many brands and small businesses were starting to use it. And it really, there are some days where I'm like, I haven't done a Snapchat in like 2 days. Oh my God, the world's going to end. Not really. But it's a matter of forming those habits and playing around with it and getting more comfortable, just like doing video. You know, it took Blab for me to finally get comfortable with video because I hated Periscope.
Yeah. Oh, it took us, well, it took me longer because you dragged me into this kicking and screaming, and I still just pretend that it's just Cara and I. So apologies for anything that I just forget about the chat sometimes with questions because I just try and block the world out, deal with my introvertedness. But yeah. So anyway,
Mark, you made a comment about how people understand the website value and not video marketing and social media. It really is just a social awareness. I guarantee you 10 years from now, nobody's going to be questioning the value of having social media done well and right by a professional. So if you can get in on it early and you know what you're doing. And this is an industry that I totally just fell into and got really good at it really quickly and realized, hey, I can make a career out of this. And I really know what I'm doing, and I can really take this to a whole nother level. So newish pop group. Do I have experience in the music industry?
Oh yeah. How many like people did you have to manage on?
I feel like a broken record when I say this all the time, but I mean, it is kind of cool, right? So, Mark, I used to be the social media manager for Megadeth and Dave Mustaine. So I think that would count. I was managing 13 million fans across 17 social media accounts. So yes, and I do actually have another musician that is a client of mine right now. So music industry, here's the fun thing about the music industry and social media. You don't find more engaging fans anywhere else. So when you post something on Facebook, fans want to know what's going on with the musician and the artist and all that kind of stuff. It is a naturally engaging industry to be in. So it makes it really, really fun as a social media manager to do that instead of when you're trying to get the dentist office more Facebook likes. Right?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I can understand the difference there, Cara. Yeah, kind of night and day. And it would be great if everybody in social media was as engaged as what the fans were for that particular band. Because sometimes I think when you're starting out, it feels like crickets. It's like I am posting stuff and nobody cares. And maybe some people don't know and don't care. But it's that perseverance and understanding the plan that you've got behind it so that you start to have a conversation with people. We say that all the time. It's conversation. So obviously a big job that you used to do as far as Megadeth were concerned was make sure that those people felt engaged with that person and a conversation and that they had access to them. And it's no different if you're running a small business. There's no point in just chucking stuff out on social media all times of the day and
then not engaging.
It really frustrates the heck out of me. I mean, I've said this to you. I've run a couple of tests over the last 3 months now, and my Twitter following has doubled. Now, I'm not about the vanity measures. I'm not about I've got so many people following. It's not about that. It's about the number of conversations. And literally, I now open up my Twitter feed like maybe once a day and just make sure who I need to be speaking to. And it's just chatting all the time now and people liking and retweeting and having a conversation and reaching out to people. And it's completely night and day from where I was maybe even about 6 months ago. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Again, to circle back, for those who have just joined us, what we were actually talking about was why you need to sell your expertise and why you need to qualify your clients to ensure that you can make those sales with the right people. And social media is a part of that. You need to have a conversation. So get on the right platform, find the people who want what it is that you're selling and the service that you offer, and have a conversation. Reach out to people. Start looking at what people are talking about and chip in. You might get ignored, but if you're not chipping in, you're not reaching out to people, you're never going to know. It's just like the real world.
Just like the real world, yes.
Just like the real world. People seem to separate them as if the online is this big dark art and they do things differently. It's not. You just have a different set of tools to have the same conversations. You just have to do it at 140 characters if it's on Twitter.
Right. Well, and Kat and I were talking before we got on about like what's the process and actually how do you vet potential clients? And it's funny because I was like, well, I just have my super spidey skills and my trained investigator instincts and whatever. And I mean, I do, but I don't have like a fill out this questionnaire, which I'm sure someday, maybe sooner rather than later, I will get to that point. But what I pick up on when I talk to people about my services usually falls into one of two categories. They despise and hate social media, don't like it, don't get it, know that they're supposed to do it, but they don't want really anything to do with it. Or they have a top level, like, I know that I really need to do this and that it needs to be done well, but I just don't understand and I don't have the time to do it as the business owner. Mm-hmm. I know if they fall into the despising, hating social media, whatever, 99% of the time, they're the people that don't want to pay me more than $10 an hour because they don't understand the value of social media. So I can pretty much write them off as like, you can either buy my lower level packages and have it be a one-off, or I'm not the right fit for you. If they fall into the other category of, I really do understand that I need it, I just don't know what I'm doing and I don't have time, 99% of the time, they're the people that want my retainer services, or they will at least buy my mid-level package because they're not quite at the point of buying my retainer services. So it's kind of one of those, like, I don't have it written down, I don't have a process, but I know that that's how it goes. They're usually in one of two categories, and then it goes from there.
So I'm going to point out the bleeding obvious. Our Blab is called Power Process because I came up with that last week, and you've just sat and told me, process person, that I've not written it down, Kat. It's in my head.
True.
True. Are you not listening to me, lady?
Well, I don't. So I would say it's more that I have the process when it's further down the line, because if I get somebody that falls into the, I hate social media, I don't get it, don't understand the value, I don't bother with a process for them.
Yeah, fair enough.
They're not my client.
Yeah.
But if it falls into the, I know I really need to use it, then it starts in the process of onboarding a client or figuring out what the best workflow is for them. So at some point you have to have that process.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm different. I start off with like the tiniest questionnaire, just if it's somebody saying like I need some one-on-one or working on confidence or whatever it is. And I just keep it really brief to make it really simple for them, so it's not this kind of overwhelming questionnaire that gets in the way of actually getting on with getting the job done and getting them where they need to be. But it can sometimes be really difficult. I find it more challenging in the conversations, face-to-face stuff, when it's a larger company or as I say, the kind of experience I had this week that I won't get into too much detail about. But yeah, it's just working out early on what their commitment is without talking about that sordid topic of coin, because that's the problem. That's the only thing that usually gets in the way. And you're trying to sell, it's like what we were talking about early, I think probably 15 minutes ago in the Blab, was just that having that conversation and selling what it is that you've got in a soft way so that people know, I actually can't do without this. I didn't really understand it before. You've made me understand it, and I need it, and what is cost attached to that. And you were right what you said, Karen. People were selling a product. They wouldn't walk into Apple and say, could you give me that? I love that watch, but could you give me it for like £100 cheaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, what? But people have the audacity to say that when it's a service-based business. Well, it's as if they're trying to strong-arm you, and we've both been in that situation as well. Some genuinely, once they understand it, just can't afford your service, and that's fine. And you both walk away, and there's no love lost. But it's when there's those individuals or those organisations who just want you into a room, know already what it is that you do, and then have the cheek to say, oh, you're too
Well, we're
expensive.
a nonprofit.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah. And
Or
that's
when they
really
start off right
hard.
away with the can we trade?
No, I know, because yeah, something that you mentioned again, I won't get into too much detail, but it's kind of like, do I need to trade and get a service back that I'm not going to use all the time for my services?
Right.
And at the end of the day, you know, as small business owners, every penny counts. So I get why it's really tempting to accept that and say, okay, I can do something or offer a discount. And that's a personal choice for you. But you need to understand that every time you do that,
you're devaluing yourself.
You are, and you're setting a precedent for the next conversation. And if it's in the same niche, they're, you know, maybe going to speak to that organization or that person, say, well, I got to give me 20 quid or $20 off, whatever. And it is, unless you're prepared to actually give a discount and you've already built that into what your pricing plan is, you're never going to qualify that client. And actually, as we've said before, Cara, sometimes when you bend over backwards and you do things like that for certain people, they end up being the people that take up most of your time. It's the old Pareto principles of, you know what, I really need that job this month. Because we've all been there. I really need that job this month to pay those bills, and then regret it as soon as you've kind of signed over the contract.
Costing you the most time.
You can guarantee it. The universe is that kind of unique way of just slapping you in the face and saying, I told you not to do this.
Right. But I think the key takeaway is when somebody tries to strong arm you or devalue your service, it's really, and this was hard for me to wrap my head around, because your knowledge and your expertise is your business, and it's you. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody does that, it's learning how to not take it personally. Absolutely. And learning how to just understand that it's their perception, it's their view on the world, it's their whatever, and it has nothing to do with you. That's a hard thing to do when it comes to service-based, for sure. And I've definitely been there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you kind of grow a thicker skin once you've been through it a couple of times. But the first time you do it, you're so shocked that that people can be like that. It's a bit like from the online world, you know, when I first started to do my email list building and somebody unsubscribed. I'm absolutely gutted.
You don't want to see my news? Well, then you don't need to be here.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing, same perception. Whereas I've unsubscribed from hundreds of newsletters, and it's not because they don't appeal to me. You know, you kind of, they're in your psyche somewhere, but you think, actually, my inbox is so full, I need to get rid of some of this stuff.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, exactly. In service-based businesses, it's just, as we said, it's about trying to qualify the right client so that you get to really love your job and to do what it is that you want to be of service to other people about, because there's nothing worse than just getting that wrong. And it just takes time sometimes.
It does.
Formula.
Yeah, no, it's true. And here's the other thing, talking about, you have a really short questionnaire. I actually do have a questionnaire when I get farther down the line for onboarding that's a little more involved. I know if it takes this prospective client way too long, like they don't get it back to me for weeks, they just can't seem to whatever, that they are going to be somebody that is really hard to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Really difficult. So it's all those, like, I don't have a checklist to say they filled it out in a timely manner or they didn't, but I know as we're going through it, you know what, this person is not going to get me what I need on time. They, if I need information for them to be able to post about sales and events and specials, and they don't get it to me until the night before, that's not how I work. Yeah. So, and not to say that everybody works like that. I don't want to be super negative about prospective clients and whatever. It's really more just the whole trusting your instincts and paying attention to how a client is interacting with you, or a potential client.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because sometimes we're so focused on the formula that we need to work through in order to qualify that person, we actually forget to listen to the signs that are coming back at us, whether it's, as you say, dodging emails or taking ages to come back to you on something. And I find it incredible, just to mention that there, was a wee bit kind of taken aback about, you know, if you are doing social media for somebody and then they're actually taking money off the table because they haven't got you the sales thing on time. That just blows my mind that people would be as silly as that, you know. And
all the time.
And I know things get in the way of deadlines, you know. I'm not saying that everybody's perfect and hits every deadline, but you would think if it was about, you know, so I'm assuming, say, something like Valentine's Day and they were selling chocolates, you know, and they never got you their sales stuff on time, that would just be a big, like error, like schoolboy error. Some
of it is that they will always be that way. That's the way they are, and they're just difficult. And sometimes it's because they're not used to thinking of social media and their marketing as an overall strategy, as silly as that sounds. And so I'm having to educate them at the same time about how far in advance they need to think ahead. It's not they're difficult to work with and they don't get it and they're always going to be a time suck. It's that they're not at that level of understanding yet. Every one of my retainer clients, before the next month, we sit down and we map out. In my webinar, I talked about the big rocks, like the promotions and all that kind of stuff. Before February, before you know, whatever it is, we map out. These are the key promotions. These are the key hashtag holidays. These are the things. And then everything else gets filled in. And that's so important. So you're not running around at the last minute trying to post something when you should have been promoting it like the week before and all that, whatever.
You're just trying to really break it down for people and make it really straightforward for them to understand. And I love that whole, I think a wee light bulb goes on in people's brain when you explain it like that. And I like that kind of rocks thing, because these dates don't change. You know, like Valentine's Day or Christmas Day or whatever the heck it is, or whatever applies to your particular niche. Like, they happen on the same date every year. No surprises. The day might change, but the date stays the same. And I'm always shocked that people can't get themselves to think like that. Yeah. But yeah, not everybody works the same. As you blink and well know that. I do profiling and, you know, everybody's a different profile. But yeah, it's just when it comes to your business and making sales, bit of a shocker for me to kind of hear that. I suppose that people don't do that.
Yeah. And, you know, here's the thing for me, because I do social media for many different clients, I'm able to do that because I have the tools and the power processes with what I do. As far as scheduling, doing things in advance, having the whole month mapped out with just a few things that I need to fill in here or there. Yeah. And so I'm able to handle so many clients because I know, okay, this client, I have scheduled all their pins for the next 2 weeks. Like I can now focus on this client, that whatever. Yep. So when you have clients that are always behind and are always sending you things at the last minute, it throws that entire thing off for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes, again, it's a matter of educating them and teaching them how to work with me.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. And I'm happy to do that. You know, I know if somebody sends me, hey, can you put this on Facebook tomorrow? Well, actually, I have your Facebook scheduled for the next 2 weeks and, you know, this and that and whatever. Or I have to stop what I'm doing, working on another client or something else to attend to whatever they want done at the last minute. And I'm happy to educate them again. But if it turns into somebody that refuses to work with you the way that you need to work, then at some point it's going to become not sustainable.
Yeah. And I think that's probably part of the qualifying your client process that we were talking about today. It's that, I know we base it on Spidey sense. Right. You know, you just get that little tingle and you're like, oh yeah, avoid. But yeah, it's about trusting your gut instincts and trying to listen to what's actually coming back from the person who is engaging with you or trying to engage your services, and trying to make it really easy for them as well. Because as I've said before, not everybody's a great fit. for one another. And I know that can be really difficult to walk away from, but that's the reality of it. So yeah, it's that spidey sense, gut thing, listen to what's going on, hear the words that they're actually saying, and then the actions, do the actions back it up to say, I'm going to send you that email in a couple of days. Do they do that? Or are they like 2 weeks late or 10 days late? Usually that's a kind of good indicator for me personally as well. And I find it quite challenging sometimes because I do profiling. So I understand that not everybody works the same as me. I understand that everybody has different priorities in their life, not just mine. You know, but it is really, you know, I do find it quite challenging sometimes working with somebody who's a completely different profile from me. I understand it, but I still find it quite challenging that I need to almost build in a bit of kind of buffer to allow that to be an easier conversation for them and me. And it's really difficult sometimes just watching how everybody operates very differently. But like you, if you've got retainer clients and you're trying to qualify new leads into that already, you've got quite a tight schedule, I'm assuming, with different clients that you've got. You can't just drop everything to put something on Facebook. It's back to what I said last week. It's like you don't get up and check your front door every 2 minutes to see if the postman's been or somebody's ringing your doorbell. But people seem to treat email and social media exactly like that. Oh, ping, must do. Ping, have they got that? Ping, have they received they need to update my Facebook? Ping, you know, in 2 hours time. And you're right, it's just educating people how you work with them a bit easier.
You know, it's definitely about training clients how to work with you, and only you can decide how much effort a client is worth. I definitely have my clients that I'm like, I will go above and beyond and bend over backwards to make it all work and happen, and make extra effort that I wouldn't maybe do for another client, or, you know, whatever, because of the relationship I have with the client. And there's other clients that I don't feel that way, where I'm like, this is how this goes. Yeah. And this is how I work, and, you know, whatever. And I've also gotten to the point where, you know, especially for website building, thanks, Scott, for website building, I'm getting inquiries and I'm pitching people, and I'm having to tell them I'm now looking at mid to late March to be able to start your project. Yeah. And they look at me like, what? You're not going to do this and drop everything now, and I'm not going to have a brand new website in 2 weeks. Yeah. You know, so it's not a marketing ploy. It's not I'm so in demand, whatever. It's, I know what my schedule is. I know what the demands on my time are, and I'm not going to have other clients suffer because you're a new shiny client that's given me a check this week.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's customer service, really, isn't it? That's kind of what you talk about, because I see it so many. It's like the new bank, you know, banks, they'll bring in new customers and all the focus goes on getting in new customers, and the existing customers are getting really hacked off because you're not giving them the same attention. And the same is true. And actually, it's harder to deal with as a small business because, getting back to that point, you're wearing 23 hats. You're the sales department, you're the customer service department, you know, you're the social media department until you hire somebody like Cara. And that's the reality of it. You know, it's trying to kind of juggle all that and still treat the people who've paid for your services really well. And I think that's how I've found, you know, again, circling back to qualifying clients, that's what's really worked for me, is people knowing what it's like to work with me, giving, you know, recommendations to other people, which is fantastic, to say, this is what Kat is like, this is what Kat expects. And actually, you know, if it's for you, then fine. If it's not, then okay too. It allows that recommendation and that testimonial. And it was funny, just you saying what it's like to work with you, to try and educate. I actually did that. Sorry, I'm not going to put it in the chat box or anything, but I created a little video series, a little free video series, so that people knew they could work through it and they could hear my Scottish accent if they weren't from around the corner, and they could see what I was like, and they could see the kind of booklets and worksheets and works that I created for them. And if that was good enough for them, then they know what it's like to kind of work with me already. and it
Right.
qualifies the client as well as them learning a wee bit of information, and then they know what to expect from you.
Right.
So it's another way of doing things. Again, just that online versus offline role.
Well, and it's, it's kind of the same thing as like, you wouldn't call a dentist office and be just appalled that they couldn't see you that day. Yeah. They would go, okay, our next appointment is 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out on this day and time. Can you make it? So it's definitely, it doesn't have to do with you. It has to do with the client and their perception. Yeah. I know if I tell a website pitch that, okay, I'm looking at being able to start your project in 2 to 3 weeks, whatever. And they go, oh, that's not what I was hoping for, but yeah, I get it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Check one and okay, good client. If they go, oh yeah, that's not going to really work for me. I have two things that I do. I say, we could talk about a rush fee if you have those resources.
Yeah.
Or I can refer you to somebody else, or, this is what I have, whatever. So it's it's that triage of like, how do you work with that person?
Yeah, and it's protecting you and protecting that conversation, so that if they do decide to come back and work with you in the future, they know again that you're not just going to, away and sling a hook kind of thing. You might work with them again in the future, or they might then realise, right, okay, to work with Cara, I need to be there, organised, and tell her 4 weeks in advance because her schedule's getting filled up. And that's the reality of it as a small business owner. Invariably, it's just one person, i.e. you. So there's only so many demands on your time, and you've only got so many hours in your day. And as I always say, nobody ever set up in business and saying, I want to work 85 hours a week. Woohoo! And never see my family and never see my friends. I don't know anybody that does that. And if they do that, do you know what? You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
You're just doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, it's just being organised and planned. And I'm just going to look at my wee notebook here to kind of wonder back, and we're circling back around about qualifying clients. So all those things, packages, little video series, the right questions, the fallback positions, all of those things help you qualify your clients. Would that be about right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally 100% on the mark. Yeah, and it's hard to have a power process for instincts. That's something that you develop. Either you have it naturally, like Kat and I, or you develop it over time through working with your clients and making mistakes. We've all made mistakes. I've going back to that. It's really hard to turn down potential clients. I put up with this lady browbeating me over not discounting my services, and she didn't want to pay a deposit on the discounted services that I provide her. And she just ran me through the ringer, and it was so awful. Yeah. And thankfully I had the presence of mind to say, you know what? No, we're done. We are totally done here. But it's all of those learning mistakes where you go, number one, pay attention to what's happening. But then number two, go, okay, this is what I'm not going to do next time.
Yeah. And I think when you start out, it's really hard to say no. It's one of the most difficult things. So I'm getting a bit of feedback here. Sorry. So yeah, saying no to people. It just, what you're saying in the comments there, it's so important to do that and to qualify the clients so that you can walk away. But I do think it's one of the hardest things that any new business owner start up. Right. Especially if they've maybe been like in a corporate job and they're used to just being in that kind of little beige cubicle, and then suddenly they're having to do this for themselves and put food on the table and pay their bills and buy gin at the end of the month. As I like to
do. The end of the month.
Yeah. You're like, every week. It's
what?
A regular shop.
People do that?
Yeah. And it is only water. I don't move from tea onto.
Right.
Yeah. I always have to give that disclaimer because I know people think that I do have a big problem, I'm sure.
No. But,
Yeah.
another way to qualify clients is the whole deposit thing. So,
Oh,
and I didn't think about it until this huge issue came up with this lady who was like, I don't pay deposits. What are you, how dare you?
yeah.
Deposit number one secures your spot in my calendar.
Yeah.
I am busy. I have, clients and have everything scheduled out. And if you don't pay me a deposit, you're not on my calendar yet. You do not get a spot in my workday until I have a deposit from you, because particularly for what I do with social media strategy, the first couple weeks with any client is me doing a fuck ton of research and analytics and insights and everything else that I need to know to be able to give them an honest to goodness, backed with facts strategy for social media.
Yeah.
So before I even get to the point where I'm like, okay, here's how we're going to post. Here's what we're going to post. Here's our schedule. Here's whatever. I've done so much work from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that for free.
Well, yeah, and it's a good way of putting it, securing this in your schedule. I quite like that, because I originally used to just do the work and then send the bill, and I learned very quickly that some people, even some of my best clients, and I had a fairly large accountancy firm that I was doing a lot of work for, and they're brilliant. And, I knew they were good for paying, but I left it and then I billed them. And then they didn't do what they normally do to chase things up. And before I knew it, I was missing kind of 4 or 5 payments. So even they are really good at what they do. Things get overlooked. And you don't have the time to check up on your sales all the time. So I started to do the same thing. So when it's a standalone profile, I just say money up front, and then I'll release the information for you to go online and do that. If it's about then that profile with my kind of debrief attached to it, then, I would still just take the profile amount and I'll follow up with that maybe like a day before we organise the debrief. And it just covers your back rather than you then thinking, oh, did I get that payment? Because recently, I did some work at the university and sent them the invoice, and nothing bad, but my bank account went down online and I couldn't check if the money had went in. So you're then in that constant process of having to remember, right, did they pay me? Have they paid me? I'm not sure if they paid me. Whereas if you get the money up front, you're good to go, and then you go and do your thing.
And here's the other thing that I've learned is to, once we get going, because retainer clients, I require a contract of length, minimum 3 months, because of all the front-loaded work I do to get on board with social media. Once we get in the groove of the cycle and the schedule, they pay up front for the month. They pay me before the month that I'm going to do. Yeah. Because I have run into several times where I'm billing clients after the fact, and it takes them 2 months to pay me, and I'm still continuing to provide services. Well, who does that? Yeah. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this is interesting. Talking about qualifying your clients, I pitched a client who told me they had somebody doing one of their social media platforms. They weren't too happy with it. They had decided to let them go. And they mentioned in our conversation that they were locked out of their account because they hadn't paid them. And I thought, ooh.
Oh, God.
Right. And I thought, oh, yeah, so you don't pay your people.
Yeah.
To the point where they felt the need to lock you out of your account until you paid them.
Did they not even realize that story was backfiring on them?
I don't think so. Yeah, red flag, Scott. No. Helen Keller could figure out that's a red flag.
Okay. Don't even need Friday things for that one. Oh my good God.
So nobody needs the money that, I don't want to say nobody needs. Sometimes it's really scary when you don't know if you're going to pay the bills or not. I get it. But these are the clients that end up costing you far more in time and effort than what they're paying you for. Yeah. So
time that you could be spending with a client that actually pays you on time is an absolute joy to work with. However, there's always a wee kind of reverse psychology thing going on with me when I do ask people to pay up front. And it was funny, Scott, you were saying there about, you know, if you do it the opposite way where you do the work and then they pay you, you've got no leverage. But there's something about getting paid first before you've delivered that I'm like, oh no, I've lost my momentum a bit because I like to do the thing and then like, the bonus is to get paid. But you know, so it's kind of counterintuitive a wee bit, and I've had to just get over myself to ensure that the small business cash flow is fine. But yeah, it just, I'm like, oh, I don't like the feeling of, oh, you've paid me already and I haven't actually delivered yet. So yeah, it's always that. I always find that a wee bit jaggy for some reason. It's just a personal thing.
I think we can all agree that the dream client is the one who understands the value of what you're providing and just knows that they don't have that knowledge and the time to get that knowledge.
Yeah.
They work with you in a way that you want to be worked with, that's respectful of your time and your schedule and everything else. Yeah. Meaning they get you what you need on time to be able to provide them with that service. They don't squabble over deposits. They don't squabble over paying you up front. Dream client, right? And again, if it's kind of like a decision tree, like if they go this way, you need to decide if it's worth it or not. And again, it might be simply that they're not educated and they're worth taking the time to educate them. And sometimes it's that they suck and you need to not have them in your life.
You know, you say that decision tree thing. I totally think you should add that to your to-do list and make one in terms of what the conversation is for selling. I would buy it. Oh, no, you're going to say, here's one I've made earlier.
No, I'm writing it down.
See, you gave me
I just came up with. I was so proud of myself. I actually spent 2 hours making this infographic because I thought it was so worth it. A visual decision tree on how to decide which social media network you should be on.
Oh, love it.
It's good. Decision tree for selling services.
Yeah. And make sure you share that with me.
I share everything. Yeah, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's just about that value and, you know, qualifying the right person so you're not wasting your precious time. Because I always say, as soon as you start to clock up what your hourly rate is versus stuff that you're spending time on, wow, absolutely wow. And I found myself in that position this week. And the thing is, as an introvert, Cara knows this, you know, as soon as I've went out and done face-to-face, I need to kind of lock myself in a dark room, like for about 3 hours to recover. I'm absolutely exhausted by it. So it's not just even 3 hours or 2 hours. It's almost like a kind of half day or into 3/4 of a day before you kind of recharge your batteries to get going again. And that's a long time to be spending trying to qualify something, a client, when actually, you know, you're not going to get anything out of it. And that's a lot of money, you know, a lot of precious time and a lot of money when you could be doing something else or working with another client or giving them more value. I would actually rather be creating more value free value for my tribe, my clan, than I would spend sitting in a coffee shop for 3 hours, you know, talking rubbish.
Trying to convince somebody why they should pay you. I mean, we all have to sell. We all have to do that. Here's why you should pay me what I offer. But the free advice, bullshit. And I get that all the time where people are like, well, what social media platform should I use? I'm like, figure it out or pay me.
I'm going to get a t-shirt that says that. Figure it out or pay me.
Figure it out. I just want to pick your brain, right, Scott? Can I take you to coffee? If you want to take me to coffee that costs $75 an hour, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said this before. Erica Napolitano, you should go on her website and have a look at how she says about if you want to meet me for coffee. It is, I wish I'd come up with it myself. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I say in one of my course pages, I actually say, come and kick the tires. See those tire kickers? Like, so it's like, you know, you can check everything out. Come and kick the tires. But if it's not, then, you know, stop chatting on my door. Jog on.
I get this. I don't know where it's. Oh, it's from. Is it Scarface? Maybe one of my favorite phrases. I'm going to be totally foul here. Is stop wasting my motherfucking time.
You haven't used that with a client, have you?
In my head.
You had to think of that.
Stop wasting my motherfucking time.
Yeah, if you don't like foul language, people, you're in the wrong Blab, I can assure you.
Yes. Scarface. Anybody know? Is that Scarface?
You missed my mug of the day? Yeah, totally.
For fuck's sake. Yeah.
Yeah, what I find is that I go and do that in a dark room somewhere again, like, oh my god, tear my hair out. Yeah. So
Craig, yeah, no kidding, right?
Maybe you could just do that with no filter and nobody was offended. It would be just.
I always have. Usually, my husband check my emails when it's anything that's like, no, this is not happening. This is what's happening. I always have him check my emails for tone, even though you shouldn't interpret tone in email. We all do. Yeah, because I don't really try. I'm a very, very to the point person, and sometimes without intending to, it comes across as bitchy, you know, whatever. But it's really just that I'm to the point. And
I suffer from the same illness.
Yeah.
And actually, I probably shouldn't say this on air, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Do it.
I found myself in that very position last week where, again, my husband, who's very level-headed, and it's like, Kat, you know, I'll let you do your rant and calm down. And then, however, I did actually type up one of those emails. And my advice to everybody is sleep on it. Don't send it. Sleep on it. Yeah, and it was a proper ranty, like, you know, and I hit send, and of course my husband was just like head in his hands saying, you tell other people not to do this. This is like a universal thing that you get somebody to check it and then you sleep on it, and you have done neither. You have broken both of your rules. And you know, I never heard back from that person.
Shocking.
You know, shocking. Totally like, what? You never come back to me? Yeah, so I can kind of write that one off. Thankfully, it wasn't a client then, but it was a something else. And I thought, oh, yeah, I should have slept on that.
Writing a ranty email at 11 o'clock at night that I probably should not do that. Yeah. And I also know because my hubby's the same way. He's the very like level-headed, calm the fuck down, you know, whatever. If I show him an email or what's going on with a client I want to respond to, that's bullshit. I know if he is irritated and angry that I am like, okay, this is totally unacceptable.
Yeah. You sometimes just have to have that kind of sense check on things so that you're not, as you say, you just happen to be tired. You maybe haven't had your kind of dose of caffeine and you go off on one, you know, or you've had like 2 or whatever. Always good. Never do it when trying to qualify a client. That is the lesson to take away from today. If you do anything else or walk away or say no, just don't rant at them in an email because you will regret it. I can assure you. Not now, but maybe next year, maybe 10 years, you will regret it.
And I would say even more important than qualifying, well, it is really important, is understanding that relationships with your clients change over time and being adaptable. So always understanding that you have your touchstone of how you want to be worked with and, you know, how you work, whatever. But sometimes somebody that you don't think is going to be a great client, it's a matter of educating them and getting on the same page and just kind of working out the kinks, which kind of always happens. Sometimes it just happens quicker than others. And sometimes it starts off really great and it devolves over a period of time, and you have to know when is enough is enough. So it's really being aware of how you want to conduct your business, how you want to work with clients, and realizing that the way other people react or whatever is really, unless you're providing poor service, which is all about you, a lot of times it's just the other person's perception and their education or lack thereof about what you're doing. So
definitely. It's back to that, what we said about listening to your gut and actually hearing what they're saying more than what the words are coming out their mouth, because there's always indicators to give you an idea. And I, again, knowing that everybody's a different profile, because I do need to remind myself, even though that's what I do need to remind myself that not everybody operates the same as me. We've all got that different MO, that different operating system. And I mean, very quickly, you know, I can pick up the clients who need to go away and think about something. So it does maybe involve another, you know, it's not like, oh, you'll need to come in again or we'll need to have another big lengthy discussion. It's more about, let me think, let me get the points from an email from you, and then I'll give you my decision. And it's just understanding that some people need that space, because I am one of those people. I hate being sold to spontaneously. I hate being sold to with an element of false scarcity. It winds me the heck up. It just does nothing for me. And I know that works with a whole load of other people, but for me, I'm just totally turned off, and I'll immediately just walk away. I'm just like, stop it. Don't do that.
Nothing is worse than those freaking infomercials that come on and they're like, if you call in the next 30 minutes, you'll get this. It's like, dude, I know you recorded that 3 years ago and you're still saying if you call in the next 30 minutes, like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I understand that some people just need to reflect, because I'm a bit of a reflector that way. Other people are more than happy to. Do you know what? And you've mentioned that you've had clients like this, Cara. It's like, no, I get it, and you're going to do a great job, and here's my money, and I'm signing on the dotted line. And they're the kind of dream clients sometimes, because they're just like, do you know what? I don't have enough time to think about it.
I just can't do this. You do it.
Because it's about trust. It's not about, oh, I don't really care what's happening. It's like, you've told me that I trust you on a, you know, I work on a different level, an intuitive level or whatever, and they're fantastic. But yeah, it's the ones who just kick the tires all the time. I'm like, oh.
I love that you brought up trust, because in both of our industries, it's huge for me to be doing social media for a client where I am acting as them, as their brand, as their voice. Takes a huge level of trust. And my very favorite client, who is a retainer client, when she refers me to other people, the number one thing that she talks about, and she's told me this, is conveying to them how she trusts me completely to do her social media the right way with her brand voice, and that I get what they are doing with their business. And I think sometimes for small business owners with social media, that is a hump that they have to get over, where they're like, I don't know if I want somebody tweeting as me. And for you with, you know, I don't know, maybe you can be more specific. I can just speculate as far as the trust thing with your business, but that's it's a big thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm usually talking about things that affect people personally in their business. You know, once we do the profiling bit of it, so that we get a good understanding of where they're at and what drives them and how they operate, then it's about, right, I'm maybe lacking in a bit of confidence here, or I'm not really sure how to do sales based on the type of person I am. So it's quite personal stuff. So you've got to have trust and rapport with people. And what really hacks me off is if somebody breaks that trust and then tells big fat lies about it. That really winds me up, because it's one thing I like to think I have, it's integrity. And again, given the background that we both come from, you know, there's a whole load of stuff that you just take to the grave. You know, there's a whole load of stuff that you just never will see the light of day again. So for me, it's the number one thing
you can't have with normal people.
Never, even with, you know, home and friends, and no, absolutely not. So I treat my business the exact same way, and I refuse to have discussions about other individuals. I use people as case studies sometimes, you know, if I've got their permission, or if they're happy to do it anonymously, then that's a different thing. You check and, you know, you make sure that people are comfortable with that. But in terms of trust, if you don't have trust or rapport, then it's never going to work in the first place. And that for me is really key, actually, to getting sales, because that's what you're trying to build with people, and that's really challenging in a very short space of time. Unless you can, you know, unless they've had a recommendation from somebody else, or you've had a really good testimonial from somebody, it is really challenging. But that's what the key is. That's what you're aiming to do, is to say, I'm going to provide you one heck of an amazing service. And that I'm picking up my end of the bargain. And now you as the client need to understand that's how we work together. Trust goes to
like, perfect example, and I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit, because her reaction was so like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, well, doesn't everybody do that? So after my webinar mini course, I had someone that tweeted at me because she had a question about Facebook Insights. And I was out of town. It was last weekend. And I responded to her, I think you need to go here, but I don't have my computer right now. I can't tell you for sure, but try this. And I got home, and a couple days later, I tweeted at her again and said, did you get the answer you were looking for? And she was like, I cannot believe you followed up with me. You're a rock star. Like, blown away that I didn't just write her off and was like, yeah, I can't help you, or try this or whatever, that I followed up and was like, did you get the answer you needed? And she said, well, not quite. And I continued to follow up with her, and we figured it out. And she wrote me a testimonial just about the fact that I followed up on social media with her. And that's part of that engaging and whatever. But that is the difference between providing a rock star service and providing so much that you can justify, you know, this is why you're going to pay me more than an intern, because it takes that level of understanding and care. And, you know, I don't even know what else to say about, I mean, you have to do it right. If you don't do it right, then that's when you give the industry a bad name. And that's when you get the people that are like, well, I don't really think I should pay you because this is how I've been treated before.
Well, I mean, the story that you told, again, kind of freaks me out a wee bit. You know, the last person locked us out because we wouldn't pay our bills. And it tells you two things. You know, that individual won't pay their bills on time, but also the power that you have, that you can just lock everybody out. You could just tweet and like schedule. Oh my God, you could have a field day. And I've heard horror stories about it, you know, especially for the organizations when they've got a group of people doing it on their behalf. So you do need that trust, because I've heard so many horror stories about the person that's doing their front-facing brand, and it's a brand voice you're tampering with at the end of the day. And if you decide to, right, I'm just going to tweet what the heck I like, or post what the heck I like, that could just damage your reputation overnight. So they're putting a lot of trust in you, and you need to find, when you're, you know, trying to qualify that client, that they can have that trust in you, that even if things go a bit sour, you're not going to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, and I did not become the social media manager for Dave Mustaine and Megadeth overnight. I started by being a volunteer Facebook moderator that I was doing on my own time just to have fun. Yeah. And then I continued to prove myself over and over with my smarts and my top level strategy thinking and my creativity and everything that went into, I mean, it took over a year for me to get to the level where Dave would say, yes, you can tweet as me. And I was tweeting as him and posting as him. And it took that long to really get his brand voice down and how he speaks. Yeah. And he approved everything. It's not like I posted whatever I wanted, but I mean, imagine the trust that it took for him to have in me on that scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to prove that. It's how you do that when you're not working for a big organization, because obviously if you're in there and you're embedded in that organization, they're getting to know you over time. But when you're a small business owner trying to get new clients and leads and qualify those people, it's trying to find a way to build that trust pretty quickly, you know, because again, you can use case studies, you can use your testimonials, but until somebody connects with you, that's really where the trust is at. And it's definitely both ways. As I say, it's not a one-way street. I think sometimes people do think, well, I'm paying you, so I have to trust you. It's like, well, I have to trust that you're going to keep up your end of the bargain as well.
I have to trust that you're going to get me what I need and be the other half of this relationship. Definitely. And pay me on time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
So, sorry, say again?
I'm saying totally. I can't believe that's the time. I feel like, what? 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Got 5 minutes.
No.
So I guess to bring it back around, the whole point of today was talking about how do you qualify your leads and how do you vet your clients. And Kat and I actually very specifically were like, we don't want to be ranty. We don't want to be super negative. We don't want to call people out. Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about what you want to look out for, and all of that. But really, it's about paying attention, trusting your instincts, and having a power process for, how you do the decision tree of like, if I get this reaction or I get this feedback, it's either one of two things. And here's where I'm going to go. But it really, so much of it does come down to instinct and whether you click with the person and you want to work with them or not. Are they worth spending the time to educate them, or are they not?
But I liked what you did when you just briefly talked about if they don't want the kind of full on all singing, all dancing package from you, you've got a fallback position. So it's not just, it's per hour, because people want to know what the outcome is. Right. And if the outcome is, right, I can't afford that, is there something else? So rather than finding yourself in those, you're not having to have discussions about discounts or whatever all the time. Here's my other package. We'll get you set up, and then you can run with it and you're good to go. Yeah, I like that.
And it's going to look different for everybody, but I think for service, you can kind of use the same model where my top level, like white glove service, it starts at $800 a month for one social media platform.
Yeah.
If you're talking 2 or 3 or 4, and then you're talking, email newsletter and blog and whatever, the price goes up from there. And there are clients that can afford it and clients that can't. But I'm not going to, doing retainer services is such a huge amount of time. I can't discount it. And so when they're the client that says, I really would love to do that, but I can't, then I say, here's your $500 one-time product where I will do a completely custom social media strategy for you to implement. And so I think with any service-based business, you could kind of do that model of I'll do it all for you, or here's the roadmap to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Without having to discount.
Yeah, and it's that with me or without me. Because the with me version uses up a lot of your personal time. Well, it's your business time, I'm not saying personal time. It's your business time, and then you're not able to kind of deal with other clients as well. So that's why you're paying for that. You're paying for the time spent to do that. Brilliant. True. I think we covered that. I'm waiting on your decision.
I know. I'm so going to do that. I'm going to send you my my social media decision tree because it's really good. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to give it away or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just finished up.
I think we're done. And I think we're good for next Thursday. I was just peeking at my calendar. So are you good for next Thursday?
I'm just going to tell you, I forgot. See, your calendar's handy. Mine is in my phone currently. Let me see.
Oh. Well, it's one of my I have like 3 calendars.
Yeah, 3 lists, 3 calendars. Yeah, so I'm good for next Thursday as well. That's all good.
Yeah,
I'll get that out.
Okay.
I'll do that for us. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Scott, it was nice to see you again, and thank you so much for all your participation and everybody else that put in contents. We love doing this. So every Thursday at 9:30 Pacific, 5:30 Greenwich Mean Time. That's right.
Absolutely.
We talked for an hour and a half around something relating to social media and productivity in small business.
Yeah.
So come back next week.
Based on actual experience and not theory. So have a good evening or morning or wherever you are in the world, and we'll catch you again. See you later, Cara.
See you later.